Hello, it's Kelly from Has Offers for TechZulu, and I'm here with Chris from Topix.
Yeah, Chris Tolles, CEO Topix.
How's Glazed been for you so far?
It's been great, actually. Just was on a panel. We talked about whether media will miss wearables as well, and saw some other stuff here, so some of the demos. Reg just put on a great conference. It's been awesome.
Awesome. So I missed your panel, and I'm curious to hear, what is your take on the media missing wearables?
Well, I think that in any new market, chances are the major players will be new. So just like there was on the web, media will be fine. Like, it's not going to go away. But I think that again, the major players will be people that we don't know yet, people who actually are native and are pure play with the new devices. And then there's potential exceptions, but I do think that the role of media is to provide narrative and story on top of the new technologies. And so I think there's certainly a place for everyone, but in my opinion, it was more likely that new powers would emerge in this field.
Do you think the media really miss mobile?
Well, in the sense that the people who own mobile are people like Apple and Google, not people like NBC or Time Warner, yes. In other words, who is making the money? That would be Apple. And then secondly, Google or maybe Nokia. Who is not making the money? That would be, for example, all the content players.
Why do you think content is not making money?
Well, content does make money. It just doesn't make as much money on the web or online as it used to in newspapers or on the movies. So it's still a profitable business for lots of people. But part of it is, I think, that this whole line that content is king, well, no, distribution is king. It always has been. And it turns out owning your distribution matters. Content is certainly interesting. It's a great thing. I'm a lover of good journalism, of good movies, of good TV. But the business models online do not favor the content producer as much as the content distributor.
Interesting. That's a very good point. So as far as wearables, where do you think wearables are headed in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think that there's a couple different aspects to it that are still being sussed out. Like, is the wearable primarily a new information source? Like, for example, is it a data sensor that everyone's going to have on their body so you can tell what the heartbeats are like of everybody in America at one time? Or is it a consumption device or some combination thereof? And I think those are questions that have not been answered yet. So I think that the likely directions are, it's a place that everyone will be, Reg puts it this way, is that wearables put you 10 seconds closer to the consumer, which I think is a brilliant way of phrasing what wearables do. But I don't know if that means that I will get access to more bar bets on my glasses versus on my iPhone, or more ways for me to get instant information, or whether I'm providing information to something that's going to provide an actionable service for me.
So you're in the media, and you know that advertising is what drives a lot of media these days.
Yeah.
Do you think advertising eventually will drive wearables as well?
Well, I did say, when asked, the three panelists were asked, how are we going to make money in wearables? And the guy from Zeit said, it's too early to tell. The guy from USA Today said, I'm a newspaper guy, don't ask me. And I said, I'm going to spam your watch. And so I think it's going to be like anything else. Yes, advertising will drive some amount of wearables. I would hope, my fervent prayer is that we come up with an advertising form factor that doesn't suck. I'm not particularly hopeful about that, but it's, sure, I think that there will be some advertising form factor there.
What kind of advertising form factor would suck? What do you think would it be? Stuff
that's interruptive. I mean, I actually honestly think that there's been this whole idea that advertisers believe you need to interrupt the user as opposed to provide value. And I think that there are sponsorship opportunities. There's things there where product placement. In fact, in some ways, I'd rather it, in this one case, to be insidious and subliminal rather than something, product placement in movies is my favorite, advertising. And with wearables, I think there's a really interesting opportunity with that, to make that or an immersive experience. Look at how Twitter is used on TV. But that's something where, we're sort of in the early days, but that kind of how to integrate these things into television, into the movies, into other aspects of life are all things that are still we're still working on it.
That'll be a really big challenge, because how do you overlay something in glass? How do you put something on a watch that's more native and contextual rather than
augmented reality is fascinating with glass. Can you actually change your reality around? Like, the thing is, could you make it so that you're living in fairyland? I mean, are you living in Oz? Are you living in the Blade Runner universe? Can you change your universe with glass to create some sort of like overlay of where you're living, which would be, I think, fascinating, right?
Do you think we can?
You certainly could. I mean, why not? I mean, why not have essentially a filter for all of reality. Like, why can't you make things look one way, make everything look a different way? I mean, the technology is not quite there today, but think about if you just were able to like have glass decide what you're looking at and change it subtly to basically make yourself live in a better.
Lead to like psychosis at some point?
Well, if you give people strobe lights, sure, but why not change your reality, make them more interesting? You could do live product placement, change the branding of the billboard that you're looking at. Why not?
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, like make it so that you can't see a Coca-Cola ad. You could, or how about this? You're an ad buster. You can eliminate all the advertising all around you.
You could eliminate it, or you could, like with Twitter's promoted tweets, you could say, I'm going to outbid them, and Coke could outbid Pepsi.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. So what's your favorite part been about the Glaze so far?
I think the energy. So far, it's been really interesting, considering there's like basically zero market for this at the moment. Like there's just, 2,500 people working on the Google Glass or something like that. I think that the fact that everyone's so excited about this, and this has been a great conference in terms of energy and enthusiasm, actually.
Reg has done a great job. Reg and Kyle have done a great job building that up.
Yeah.
No, for sure. So what's next for you?
So we're in the process at Topix of, not really wearable focused, but we're actually getting people to be involved in us, getting the engagement on our site up, and that's really what we've been concentrating on. And replacing, we've done primarily local content, which is sort of inherently interesting if you happen to live in that town, and trying to augment that with feature-driven engagement, stuff where it's like, hey, if we put something in there, a piece of content on our site, can we get people to interact with it? And what are the better ways of making that, not just commenting, but putting out your view of a poll or your view in some sort of form factor that is that gives you a chance to put information back in a way that we can actually integrate with lots of other people's feedback and give people an idea of what other folks are thinking about things.
Is that challenging at all? Are you finding a challenge in that?
Well, yeah. So it turns out that pure play kind of interesting story-driven engagement is gotten us to be get about 3x the engagement of any other news site online. Doing some feature-driven stuff, we're about 70% of the way there in terms of the feature-driven pages on that, and so we're still working on it, but we're in striking distance now. When we started, it was like 10%, and now we're like, oh, we can put given 2 pieces of content, stuff that's maybe a little more, not generic, but maybe like a national news story. If we provide these new augmented commentary features, we can get to about 70% of the engagement that we would get on an interesting local story where people are naturally engaging with it. So it's working. It's taken some time.
It's getting there.
Yeah, exactly.
So one last question for you. I know everyone watching wants to know your glasses. They're awesome. Where did you get them?
Warby Parker. I think they're Warby Parker. Roosevelt.
Nice. So
yeah.
there you go, Warby Parker.
Don't buy them. I won't be the only person in my industry wearing these.
What if I get them and they're like pink?
They only have these only come in blue. There's another one of their models that comes in orange, and they have clear. Clear is pretty cool, but they only make 2 different colored glasses to my knowledge.
I dig them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Thanks.